to West Country Wanderings and welcome to having a look at Gloucester Docks. It's just an informal look back at one of my favourite places in the whole of the West Country Wandering region, which is also close to where I live here in Gloucestershire. It's where the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal meets good old Sabrina, the River Severn. And behind me here is the Mariners' Chapel. Some of you will be familiar with this building, and it was an informal meeting place and worship place for the sailors before they left their port here. Now obviously going on a ship is a very dangerous occupation, so it's good that they had contact with the missionary chapel here. The other reason for that is they obviously wore informal and what would have been dirty clothes, so they came here rather than going to the cathedral just a few minutes walk away. The other thing I've learnt inside the Mariners' Chapel here today is that the local composer Ivor Gurney once played the organ here. He did that for about a year, and the reason was he preferred this informal atmosphere here in Gloucester Docks rather than going to the cathedral or one of the many other churches here in Gloucester. So I hope you can join me for a tour around, having a look, an informal look, this most interesting part of the city of Gloucester. Now one of the many warehouses here at Gloucester Docks is this one here, which is known as the Vining Warehouse. It was actually built by a Bristol company around the 1840s. It was originally used by a local iron foundry manufacturer, but later in the 20th century it was repurposed to store grain, as indeed were many here at Gloucester Docks. Now the docks here at Gloucester and the canal maintained by the Canals and Rivers Trust, which will be familiar here on my canal series. This bridge here is actually called Victoria Bridge, and it's a swing bridge, and I believe at one time part of the extensive railway network here at Gloucester Docks would have gone across the top of it. Not sure that it opens that often these days though, but you can see down here it's like it's on casters to swing right through 90 degrees to allow boats into the harbour and wharf, and what is the present day marina on that side of the docks here. Now just spotted a sign just here on the corner of the Victoria Swing Bridge, Ironworks in Dudley, obviously in the West Midlands, not that far away from here, but you can't make out the rest of it, so I don't know who the original manufacturer was. If you do know, you know the usual thing to do, please drop a comment below. That building behind you is the Britannia Warehouse, originally built in the 1880s, but it was destroyed by fire. I think, was it the 1970s? I'm not sure. But it was completely rebuilt in 1987 using the original bricks, which were laying derelict on the grounds there. And it was built up and was one of the first warehouses here at the Gloucester Docks to be restored in the 1980s. So we have the crane here, which is built by Rodleys in Leeds. You probably remember this from my Severn-Way video. I did a separate Severn-Way video looking at the entirety of Gloucester. You probably spotted somebody else over there. Yes, it's Louise from Southwest Sundays. Let's go and have a quick chat with her now. Hi Louise.
Hello Paul. Just looking at this crane. It's massive, isn't it? Wow. What's this used for?
It was connected to the railway system in the docks here. There was an extensive railway network.
Oh yes, the railway, yeah.
And it utilised that to move backwards and forwards to unload the goods from the ships and boats that came up here into the docks itself.
Oh.
Built in 1944, towards the end of the Second World War.
Oh wow.
But it gives you different, depending on the angle of the jib, isn't it? So this is the jib here. Depending on the angle, it's tilted out. So you've got different weights. So 35 degrees radius there, you could lift 2 tons. But a tighter radius, it was up to 7.5 tons. It's amazing that they preserved it. You can see the boiler there up inside it there. So this is your first time in
It's my first time to Gloucester. Paul's showing me around. I've not been here before, and he's doing a great job showing me around. We're down at the docks, as you can see at the moment. We're going to head into the city as well, and wow, I'm really impressed with Gloucester so far. It's just really, really nice city. Really loving it. Thanks
Brilliant.
for showing me around, Paul.
No problem at all. Thank you. Thanks, Louise. One of the fascinating things about this crane here is made by Booth and Brothers in Rodley in Leeds, the top. But if you look underneath, wheelbase here was actually made by Dorman Long Company in Middlesbrough. I'm not sure why they didn't make other things, so they can see the railway wheels there underneath of it. But yeah, so two separate companies there. And if you look here, WD, War Department number, so it would have been utilised by the military, and it's numbered 1624, 1624. Now this part of the canal here, Gloucester Sharpness Canal, has a great significance to me after doing the Severn-way, because just down there, the other side of the road bridge, is the lock which takes you into the River Severn. Now this strange object behind me here is locally known as the Snail. It was built in the 1950s, 1957 I think, and it's a centrifugal water pump which was in use right up to 2001 when it was replaced. In fact, the pumps these days, I think, just below my feet. What is it used for? Well, the capacity of it is 47,000 gallons a minute. That's again 47,000 gallons a minute. So it could pump water from various sources, including the River Severn, which is just over there, into the canal. There are other various sources that provide water into the Gloucester even. I'll come on to Bristol in a minute. The Gloucester and Sharpness Canal, or Gloucester and Bartley Canal if you prefer, including the River Cam and the River Frome, which flows through the Stroud valleys. But yeah, see, this was provided extra capacity because of all the boats and ships that would have used it back in the 40s, 50s and 60s, etc. Nowadays, though, the reason for the water flow and water capacity is to provide water not for here in the canal, nor even for the residents of Gloucester, but for the people that live in Bristol. This is the famous dry dock used by T. Nielsen and Company, boat builders and riggers here, Gloucester Docks. But we have another boat around here which I've not seen before, just around this side. So let's just go and have a look at that now. It's right next to the Alexandra warehouse here in the Gloucester Docks, and it is over here. There's really, really cute rigging on. It's like a miniature tall ship. Yes, there. Let's have a closer look at that. She's called Stella, and she looks brand new to me. That's incredible. And behind her, you'll be familiar with this one probably, Kathleen and May, which comes from Bideford in North Devon, a long-term restoration project here at Gloucester Docks to restore the Kathleen and May. So the Stella is a little brig, and she's one of two little brigs designed to teach sailors as young as 10 to the fun and challenges of sailing a square-rigged tall ship. And she's undergoing a refit here in Gloucester at the moment. So this is Lanthony Bridge, or Lanthony Bridge, whichever you prefer. There's no right or wrong way of pronouncing it. It's a lift bridge which was replaced a few years ago, and a main entry and exit point of the docks area and down to Gloucester Quays, which is a large leisure and shopping area. But it's been lifting up many times today. Lots of narrowboats have been coming in and out of the heart of the docks here in Gloucester. So we're now leaving the docks area here at Gloucester Docks, making our way across towards Gloucester Cathedral. Just see the top of the tower of Gloucester Cathedral tipping over the food dock next to the Soldiers of Gloucestershire Museum. So I have shown this before on my channel. This is Greyfriars, right next to the Eastgate Shopping Centre here in Gloucester. Still an amazing sight to have this right in a city centre. Extraordinary. Look at those amazing arches. Greyfriars was actually built in 1231 as a Franciscan priory built by Robert de Berkeley, and currently where I'm standing aside it is where the gardens would have built, or rather should I say the monks would have grown all their fruit and vegetables. Now it's landscape for the housing that's around me, but it would have been gardens originally. So we're currently in Eastgate Street in Gloucester, and this, if you can imagine it, at one time we would have been standing outside of the city's gates. There would have been a grand medieval gateway like this one, which was what it possibly looked like in the 13th century. And in earlier times it would have been a wooden affair looking like this, and then perhaps this, and later this as years progressed. But under here you can see parts of the Roman walls, which would have seen or existed both in Roman times and in Saxon times, as well as Tudor times, and they were excavated when all of this area around here was redeveloped in the 1970s to build the new shopping centre. So around this spot here in Eastgate Street was once born Ivor Gurney, who was a composer, but also he was a poet, and one of the things he wrote a poem about was the River Severn, simply called the Severn. So we're now in the centre of Gloucester, the historic centre of Gloucester, known as the Cross, where Eastgate, Westgate, Southgate and Northgate streets all meet. And they met right back here in Roman times too. There was once a medieval cross here, but there's also St Thomas's Tower, which dates from the 1400s, and some days you can actually go up to the top of the tower from a view from the very top of it. So this is Gloucester Cathedral. Now if you want to look inside the cathedral, then have a look at my Gloucester video, which I did as part of my 7-way series. So come back around to the docks again now, so just to wrap the video up. I've been going around Gloucester, both the docks and the city centre, looking at the highlights with Louise from Southwest Sundays. She's going to be editing that video today, so it should be arriving next couple of days. So it'll arrive before this one, but I'll link to her video in the description of mine. But she'll be looking at other parts of the city, so I was taking her around that. So we'll just go over now and say goodbye to Louise and thank her for joining me in the video today here in the city of Gloucester. So I'd like to thank Louise for joining me on the video today. So I've been taking Louise around, and Louise will have her own video, so I'll be linking to that at the end of this video.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Yeah.
I'll link to yours as well.
What did you think of it? What's been your highlights for you in the city?
The highlights, all of it. I can't pick a single highlight. I really loved all of it. It's just so full of history in Gloucester. I'm not really into history, but it's just been a really fascinating walk around, and Paul's really brought it to life as well. Things that I might have just walked past, he's pointed out to me, and yeah, it's really brought it to life. That's the best way I can describe it. Thank you, Paul.
Glad you enjoyed it. So it's goodbye from us here in the city of Gloucester. Until next time, take care. All the best now. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye. I can't really tell it's red here, but that's like a light ship.